So let's break down this Adam Delf's fictional writing here. Sentence by sentence, as always, just providing the facts, not debatable, not refutable, not something that there's even a conversation to be had about. I mean, what I'm doing right here is, like I said, it's a slow pitch coming in at Barry Bonds when he was on roids. It's going over the fence. There's nothing to say when this is over with. First sentence. Defendant's true name is Michael Joseph Reason. Good job. You got that right. However, Reason was charged under the name Dan Melindo Jr. True as well. Let's get to the next couple of sentences. It's going to get off the tracks here a bit, quite a bit actually. In two prior federal cases and in his pending supervised release petition. Here's where we're going off the tracks, Adam. Here's where you got to get back on the track here. This occurred because Reason, apparently, he says, apparently, not because he knows so, not because there's any way he can demonstrate it, but just apparently. I don't know what makes it apparent, Adam. Please, you don't go into what makes it apparent here. I'll show it again. Nothing here that makes that apparent. Kind of one of those bizarre attempts at laying a foundation where one otherwise doesn't exist. It's what you call fraud if you're a prosecutor. You ought to know that, prosecutor. It's just funny to me. I can't help it. I'm sorry. Okay, so this occurred because Reason apparently present himself as Melindo when he was arrested and fingerprinted by law enforcement. Now, had this guy bothered to do his due diligence before deciding to just say apparently on a court record and slander a person before the whole country? I mean, these are public documents. Lie to a district court judge and just otherwise make an asshole out of himself, he would have found that what actually transpired in the Southern District of Florida in Miami in 2011 was that I never said I was Melindo. In fact, I said the opposite, and because it didn't fit the theory of an arresting United States Postal Inspector named Torres, Torres, not with a Z, with an S, the Portuguese style spelling of it versus the Spanish, which typically has a Z. So Torres goes ahead and says, you are Melindo, because it fit his theory of the crime. I pled guilty to the crime, and what had happened is I negotiated money orders using the name Melindo to cash the money orders. Now, Torres doesn't find me with an ID that says Melindo. He just says, you've been claiming you're Melindo while negotiating these things. I say, I'm not Melindo. Not Melindo. I do not ever tell him I'm Melindo. He being convinced of his theory being accurate, and me apparently bearing resemblance to the real Dan Melindo. Again, this is a real individual, real Social Security number. He's a current Department of Defense employee. I'll show you a picture here in a second. I've been in contact with him about this fraudulent act of the United States Probation Office via Facebook. So, in 2011, as he falsely claims I presented myself, didn't happen. Now, what did happen in 2011? Prosecutor Karen Rockland, United States Attorney's Office, Southern District of Florida, asks me flat out, who am I? What's your name? She says. FBI agent right there, criminal division of the IRS right there. The IRS that carries the guns, not the guys with the paper, the clipboard, but the guys that go after $1 billion fraud case. So that was what this was pertaining to, my situation there. So what do I say in response to Karen Rockland? I'm Michael Joseph Reason, my true name. So again, facts in his fictitious Dr. Seuss-like account of what happened. Where he pulled this out of beside his ass, I don't know, because it didn't happen like that. There's no one in the Southern District of Florida that's going to tell you that, period. But in the most bizarre and astonishing fashion, I don't know how else to say it, he writes, presented himself when he was arrested and fingerprinted. Now, I hate to have to do this, but I mean, clearly I have to. Adam Delf, do you know what fingerprints mean? I mean, come on. They're that little identifying thing that's similar to DNA that go to a specific person. Now, later in his thing, he goes on to discuss my criminal record and me using aliases. True, I do have a criminal record. In fact, Today, in 2021, it goes back 30 plus years. At that time, in 2011, it was 20 years. So here I am, having been to prison several times. Anybody who has any kind of intelligence knows where I'm getting at here. I was fingerprinted. How the hell has a guy who's been to the can 3 times get fingerprinted, and then there's a dispute about who he is? Or he could possibly assert he's somebody he truly isn't. It's not possible. It's not possible. Certainly not when the United States Marshal's involved, and pardon me, I didn't realize I had some friggin' clothes here. And the U.S. Marshals are the one taking the prints, and the Bureau of Prisons. Again, they got this big, huge machine. It looks like an old arcade game, or one of those 1980s computers you see in the old movies where the computer was like half the size of someone's garage. That big machine in modern 2011, sole purpose, sole function was to determine your identity based on your fingerprints. Let me say, it gets it right every time, without fail. So for him to ignorantly write that I was somehow pulling a con game in 2011 after having been printed by the U.S. Marshal Service, not believable. Not possible, put it like that. Certainly other evidence that exists on that court record that I was actually the person who pointed out the error, not the person who created it. Again, how does the U.S. Attorney put it on me as if I'm the one who gets to submit an indictment, as if I'm the one who gets to read the report of a fingerprint analysis? I don't get to do that. I'm just a defendant. That job goes to a woman named Castro Lugo, who was my AUSA, who, for some bizarre reason, elected to do that very, very strange thing. Again, having no control over it, having no input on it, having no ability to con them, I had been fingerprinted. A man who'd been to prison in the United States of America, born citizen here. They knew who I was and who I wasn't. So Adam Delf asserting that somehow I presented myself, lie. Flat out lie. Now, right then and there, we got a man guilty of perjury, committing fraud, molesting court records, falsifying the record, lying, you name it. Right there in that sentence. Look into what I said, it's all in order. Now, let's make it even more gross, more obvious, that either we got a liar on our hands that needs to be booted out of the U.S. Attorney's office for obvious reasons, or he could take this route. Hey, I'm just a guy too stupid to do my job. I don't have the minimum required intelligence, or basically what this falls under is common sense, to not violate someone's rights and cause this kind of ugly shit to be published on a court record. So it's one or the other. Pick which side you want to be on. In any case, show them the door. So, another example. I'm arrested in that case I'm talking about on supervised release from Southern District of Florida. I'm picked up here in Eugene, Oregon, on a warrant for supervised release violation. I was arrested by a marshal named Mike. Marshal Mike's a cool guy. I've talked to him several times since then. They ran up on me in an apartment complex. I got the jump on them, headed out a window, and although they saw me go in the front door, were completely perplexed by why I wasn't in the apartment. Because the moment I saw their vehicle, I was like out the window before I went in that apartment to go out the back window with no hesitation, just based upon seeing the car out front. And so what happens is he gets me down the street, several blocks later. I shed my clothes, but he spots me on this walking path. He's driving an SUV down a bike path, and he puts a taser to my head and I'm gonna blow your head off and all that other crazy crap. Just doing his job. I got no ill will against Mike. He's a good marshal and a good person. But in that situation, they're arresting Dan Melindo because that name is on that court record. But what happens is I get booked into Lane County Jail here in Eugene, Oregon, where I'm at, and they have an arrest history for me. I've been to prison in the state. So they book me in the jail as my correct name. They're not going to let the marshal tell them I'm Melindo when they know goddamn well they've prosecuted me in that very county, sent me to prison, and they know I'm Michael Reason. So evidence that the U.S. Attorney's Office knows in this way. Now I get transported from the county jail, who is the federal government, the Marshal Service is paying for beds. They send me over to the federal courthouse. I initiate a process called Rule 20, in which I say I would like to have the jurisdiction of my case transferred from the Southern District of Florida to the District of Oregon to be supervised here, which, had it transpired, would have allowed this court to have jurisdiction and sway over that violation. It would have, in other words, had Judge King, the Honorable Judge Lawrence King in Florida, had agreed to such a jurisdictional change. It takes both courts to agree. It takes this court in Oregon to say, we'll accept the case. And then after they acknowledge having willingness to accept it, Judge Lawrence King, you know what's interesting about Lawrence King? I think he's the only judge that I'm aware of that is on the bench but has the courthouse named after him simultaneously at the same time, which is kind of an interesting fact. But great judge down there in southern Florida, Lawrence King, says, no, I don't want that. Bring my guy back to me in Miami. I'll deal with him myself. So prior to him making that choice, though, the Federal Defender's Office sends to me an investigator. She wants to know, why do you think you're entitled to a Rule 20, which has criteria? You have to have ties to the community. You have to establish basically why you should be permitted to have this jurisdictional change, or why it's appropriate or serves the interests of justice, that kind of thing, for you to be supervised in this jurisdiction and not the one you're convicted in. I provide her with a zillion different ways to prove, A, I'm not Dan Melindo, but also that I am who I am. I explained to her how they arrested me. I had my ID on me that said Michael Reason on me when the marshals took me in for a warrant for Dan Melindo. I explained to her that I went to the University of Oregon, right here in Eugene, Oregon, gave her access to the transcripts, gave her access to medical records, gave her access to my DMV driving record, which originated in the state in 1991. We're talking about immense amount of documentation, relatives, family, you name it, all making it clear that I'm Michael Reason, that I never asserted myself as Dan Melindo. Now, this is important because this is in the very same courthouse that this Adam Delf is now telling this story to. So, what is the government's position? We stipulate that that's in fact Michael Reason, not Dan Melindo. They agreed, I'm not Dan Melindo, but I am Michael Reason, and that in no way did I put forward I was Dan Melindo. In fact, from the very, very onset, the very first opportunity to say different, I said different. To the Marshal Service, to the county jail, to the federal defender, to the court. This goes back to 2012. So, Adam Delf, next time you don't want to look like an asshole on YouTube, go do your due diligence and read the cases right in front of you, okay? The shit you put in here in 2011 in Florida, ridiculous, complete nonsense. You failed, and I don't blame you, to properly put the court record straight in regards to what I just explained about me going through your very courthouse and your very office taking the position that I'm in fact Michael Reason. Now, fingerprinted by law enforcement, again, I covered that. I'm just going to move through this stuff. Also used numerous other aliases throughout the years. True. Relevant. None. Doesn't make any other further point. It's just fluff or whatever to muddy the water and make it seem like I'm some kind of alias using guy. Yes, true. Had used aliases. Does that excuse what Todd Cantamesa did, what the probation office did, what you're now participating in doing? No, it doesn't. Sorry. Nice try. You didn't deflect it off. You just basically put the spotlight right back on yourself. No other way around it. So, again, go find another schmuck to play with. I'm not that one. Trust me. You're not going to like it trying to run bullshit past me. The bullshit radar is in full effect. Been around world-class bullshitters. It ain't going to work here. Ask Todd Cantamesa. I've exposed him, pulled his pants down, showed his panties, if you will, on YouTube, trying to bullshit with me. It ain't going to happen. So, next point. He now attempts to use this identity as a false shield against liability for violating his supervised release conditions. That's his next statement. Now, he would have you believe, this AUSA would have you believe, that me, a person who has proven, I don't know how many countless ways, that I've done nothing more than demonstrate that I'm Michael Reason, never asserted I was anything but, never did anything but plead and beg for someone to help me straighten this record out, that somehow I'm responsible, or somehow it's some kind of scheme of mine to benefit from this thing that he wants to put forward that I caused to happen, and like he says, it's a contrived thing on my part that I strategically use to my benefit. That would have you believe that I'm the author of this. Pardon the food on there. I apologize for that. Got a lot of copies of it. Wrong document. That's the revised version of the summons. Let me give you the original summons here. What you just saw there flash before your eyes is a teaser on my video on Todd Cantamesa revising the summons after the fact. Pardon me. That's the summons he would have you believe that I am responsible for writing. As if I'm the author of that clear case of perjury. Do I write summons, Adam Delf? How could I possibly be accused of writing a summons or using this as a shield when the culprit, the actual guilty and culpable party, is right there in front of your face? Todd Cantamesa. He's the one who wrote the summons, or approved of it, written by Danielle Desinoy. Excuse that last document. That's the guilty party right there. That's who wrote the summons. That's who approved it. Todd the fraud. So, these guys apparently are getting drunk together on their lunch break. I don't know how else you could write such a foolish statement. He says again, he attempts to use this identity as a false shield against liability. A false shield? You summons the victim in my case. Come on, bud. Gig's over. Gig's over. This summons does not say my name whatsoever. Do I need to go over the hundreds of ways that I prove you folks knew my name, specifically Todd Cantamesa and Danielle Desinoy? Countless ways I could establish that. Watch my other videos. I don't have time to divert it on that topic. But I will go this far with this. The day they handed me the summons to sign, Todd Cantamesa in his office, what was I doing in the supervisor's office? I'm supervised by Danielle Desinoy. I'll tell you what. Danielle Desinoy got the police called on her by me. I'll give you the Reader's Digest version. If you want the full story, watch the video. Basically what happens is this. She gives me an identification card on U.S. court letterhead that has the name Dan Melindo. She knows I'm not Dan Melindo. She breaks the law. She creates a false, stolen identity, prints it out on a government computer, statutes against doing that, fraudulent documents produced on government computers, puts it on U.S. court letterhead, further instructs me in writing to go to the DMV, commit fraud and a felony crime of identity theft by telling me to go to the DMV and get an ID in his name. Worse than that, she tells me to go to the United States Marshal Service upon entry at the courthouse and present myself as him to gain entry into a federal courthouse, circumventing their entire security apparatus. For what? So she can have me sign a summons before the expiration of my supervised release, which was due to happen in 2 days. So she's nervous and she's just wanting to get it done, so she breaks the law. She knows she's doing it premeditatedly. So I call the police. That will earn you a trip to the supervisor's office. So I go there. It's the 25th of February. What do you think we're discussing? Of course, me having called the police on her. What do you think happens? Adam Delf, pay attention. This is the big one. While discussing her having stolen Dan Melindo's ID, his identity, providing me a fraudulent, forged identity that she created on a government computer right there in that office, she walks in the office and has me sign a summons that bears the name Dan Melindo on it. Okay, that's the end of the video. There's no point in going further. That's it. Case made, case closed. No, it should be. It honestly should be. That should be, put a fork in them. They're done. I mean, did you just hear me? I'm in his office discussing having called the police on this woman for stealing this man's identity, and in she comes with a summons with this guy's fucking name on it. Come on, it don't get more stupid than that. It don't get more deliberate than that. So, let me even take it a step further. Adam Delf, had you gone a little further, hold up, let me get this document out for you. You're going to get a laugh out of this one. Had Adam Delf gone a step further and actually cared about not looking like a total jerk off on YouTube, he'd have read this. This is a docket from the case in Tennessee, the case that he got the jurisdiction transferred on. Look at docket entry, underline. Look at the date, 2017. Defendant stated to court his real name, right? 2017. This is the very case that he's now trying to violate supervised release on. True name, right there in the docket. Now, let's go a little step further. The Honorable Cheryl Lipton, here's that docket in case anybody cares to look that case up. Here's, you know me, I just give you all the actual documents, none of this redaction bullshit, none of this hiding behind veils and all that other kind of crap. The truth's on my side, the law's on my side. Unfortunately, organization is not on my side. I've been stressed out greatly with this crap. And let me show you some further evidence of his willfulness and dereliction of duty and absolute failure to do any due diligence. Look what the docket says, entry 49. See that? Now, let me get you the rest of it. That's not the good part. Look what the judge tells, the district judge tells them to do. Submit an order to the court correcting the mistake. So, here's a judge telling who? United States Attorney's Office, United States Probation. Submit me an order so I can get this man, Dan Melindo's name, that you, the United States Attorney's Office, put on an indictment for, I mean, what reason? You know who he is. Pun intended, his name's Reason, and you fingerprinted him a long time ago. So, why are you now indicting him? Years past knowing the truth, years past him telling you the truth, continue to indict him. So, unlike Tony Arvin, who didn't have the benefit of this document when he did the mistake he made, which was an innocent, legitimate mistake, the prosecutor in Tennessee, that was just an understandable and legitimate mistake that happened. I mean, it could have happened to anyone. These guys have the benefit of his mistake. They have this document that bears my true name all over it. The judgment in my case has my name right in the judgment. The very first page of it says true name on it, all over it. So, again, there's no plausible reason for them to do this. Look at the judgment. True name. Judgment. Front page of it. True name. So, and again, the court is ordering them to correct the name. What excuse do you have, Adam Delf? Honestly, do I need to go further? Should it be necessary that what he just did in presenting that as fact and as what transpired is nothing more than a lie to the court? Let me take it a step further. Let's put the actual dagger in him. Figuratively speaking, not speaking violently. I would never speak violently toward anybody, let alone officer of the court. Don't mistake that. That's a figure of speech. So let's go a little further. These are communications to the United States Probation Office where they request my Social Security card and birth certificate. See what I say to them? It's right there. There's the birth certificate, Social Security card. There's the emails I sent them. Look how that's forwarded to my attorney. Look at all the emails on there. You see all that there. Can't argue with that, people. Those are .gov email accounts. Those are the truth. Don't listen to their lies. Listen to the truth. It's right here on this channel. The rest of it's all a bunch of bullshit. All of it. It's bullshit. The only truth you're going to find about this case is right here on this channel. See that? See that? Now, an interesting fact, I'm going to show it here because it's too funny not to, is I go to the office on the 25th to complain and discuss the police report that I filed on the probation officer. On the same day, she comes in and gives me the summons with the guy's name on it. I just called the police on her for giving me the ID in his name. What do you think she emails me the very next day? Do you think it says Dan like a complete idiot, unaware of who she's supervising? No. On the 26th, the email says Michael, not Dan. Case closed. Okay? Case closed. She acknowledges, hey, we have been, or her specifically, have been calling me the entire time the victim in my case's name, not my own, and she supervises me. And as I just showed you, all the court documents showed my true name. So, at first, to be honest with you, in this state of Oregon, as pot's legal, I just thought this freaking lady was a total pothead junkie, and no one gave a shit, and she just was out to lunch. She never bothered me. Hell, for 6-7 months, she didn't even talk to me. So it was nothing for me. I just played along with her. I didn't want to embarrass her and point it out to her. Can you imagine if I pointed out to you 3 or 4 times, I sent you my birth certificate, now I got to correct you in my house when you're calling me Dan in front of my kids? It's like, I just felt embarrassed for her. Here's a transcript, the court, knowing my name. Look at that. The court is Mr. Reason. Come on, don't get better than that. Let's go with some more documentation of that just makes it impossible for this guy to have any wiggle room. Oh, here we go. Here's Department of Justice communication. See that address? See that woman? Very nice woman with the U.S. Attorney's Office. Yes, Adam Delf, the same employer you have. Give her a call. Ask her why she's saying Mr. Reason. Look at the date. Hello. Still trying to play like you didn't know? Still trying to play like I represented myself differently? Not gonna fly, bud. Every single person in that district of Western District of Tennessee will tell you I'm the one who brought it to their attention that I was Michael Reason. I could have tried to be slippery and take on the persona of a guy who has no criminal history, but I told them the truth, who I am, my true name, as I did in Miami, despite what you wrote and lied in these court documents that I didn't, that I somehow presented myself as Melindo. Okay, now, huge mix-up. This cost me a month of my freedom. The court in Tennessee apologized for this, released me after missing my sentencing twice. So imagine how right I had to be to fail to show up to sentencing twice and still get released to walk into sentencing and then get 0 sentence and walk right back out. This is why. U.S. Marshal Service ordered to pay for my flight. See the name of the ticket? See the date? That's the actual flight. That's the ticket. That's me going to Memphis, Tennessee to my sentencing. Look at the docket. That's the original sentencing date. Missed it. Can't board the plane. I'm not Melindo. No problem. Judge orders them to fix it. Next ticket. Hello. You know what happens next? Look at the date. Look who paid for the ticket. See that? Under my name, it says DOJ USMS. Adam Delf. Had you bothered to look at this, you'd have saw this. What ends up happening to me? Because of the first day, me trying to get on the plane so I didn't miss my sentencing, for God's sake, I just said, I want to get on the plane. I didn't provide any ID because, of course, I didn't have any. They said, you don't have any ID. They put me on the phone with a person with a TSA trying to get me to answer questions about the identity of Dan Melindo. Of course I can't answer them. I'm not Dan Melindo. Random shit like, where was the last place you flew internationally? I have no idea that answer. They know it. I failed the test. I didn't even try any further. The guy just told me, hey, have a nice day. We can't let you have on the plane. But, of course, the TSA people were there. The Eugene police ended up showing up. And I just gracefully went away after having, of course, recorded the entire thing, sent it to the prosecutor, Tony Arvin, sent it to my attorney. They didn't issue a warrant, although I missed my sentencing. They clearly acknowledge I did not do it willfully. So, what happens when I go back with my real name? Wouldn't you know, the same Eugene police officer's there and says, hey, bud, weren't you here a couple days ago as this guy? Now there's a problem, because now, you're trying to get on a plane with a whole different set of credentials. Despite that saying DOJ paid for the ticket, he don't give a shit. They find a warrant for me from like 7-8 years ago, put me in custody for a misdemeanor. I missed the flight. What name did I go in custody under? Michael Reason. What name was the warrant under? Michael Reason. Is that warrant in that circumstance described in the PSI that Adam Delf has? Yes. I paid a $1,000 cash bond trying to get out so I could pay for my own ticket to go to sentencing so I wouldn't have any trouble. No. What they did is they just assumed, hey, we gave this guy a shot one time. We don't know about another time. They didn't have the story yet. So I went on airlift with the marshals for 30 fucking days to get to Tennessee. By that time, my wife had provided the videos that I took to Tony Arvin, who, again, being the fair and legitimate and honest man that he is, that prosecutor with the U.S. Attorney's Office in Western District of Tennessee, Tony Arvin said, let him go. Let him go. He's going to walk into his sentence on his own 2 feet. That's the way it's going to be. He did not do anything wrong. Absolutely did not. Now, who was supervising me during this entire incident and had front row seats to it? United States Probation, Pretrial Services, Eugene, Oregon, Lisa Brown. under the watch, under the supervision of Todd the Fraud Cantamesa. So his office had knowledge of this. Look at the date. Okay? This whole incident, including the recorded incident with the police, was given to the probation. They knew it. And then some odd 2 years later, summons me as Dan Melindo, despite what I just told you and showed you thus far. Irreprehensible, inexcusable. I haven't even got to the audio conversations yet, people. I haven't even got to them. This video could be 4 hours long if I told you and showed you all the conversations when I argued this with Todd Cantamesa. 4 hours. These people are so culpable, so guilty of violating my rights. Adam Delf grabs the baton, run Forrest run, and boy does he run with it in this motion. I mean, why he's doing this, I don't understand. Again, they might be drinking on lunch together, him and Todd. That's the only thing that makes sense to me. So that's but a couple of sentences of his 5-page thing. Could you imagine where we're going with this, people? I don't even know where to go next. I mean, it's that riddled with lies and misinformation. I'm going to continue this. This is going to have to be another video. I mean, quite frankly, this is just going to have to be another video. I've just gotten to his response to this. I'm going to post this, get it out there. Trust me, he puts a money order in there that proves my case, not his case. He puts a statement in there that makes it impossible. Hey, Todd Cantamesa, United States Probation Supervisor, go ask your buddy why he just sealed the deal on you having perjury. Ask him. Todd Cantamesa writes in his summons, I won't leave that hanging. That would be impolite for me to leave such a bombshell like that just sitting on the shelf there. Todd Cantamesa writes in his summons, original sentence, 1 day imprisonment. Why he writes that? Real fast. We had an argument that I'm not supposed to be on supervised release. The law states you cannot be given supervised release without having been first given a term of incarceration. As I already explained to you, I walked into my sentencing from the street and walked right back out. I was given no sentence, no 1 day. I'll show you my entire judgment. Nowhere in my judgment does it say I was given a 1 day sentence, right? So, I argue this with Todd Cantamesa. Here's the judgment. You see what it says? No sentence. It does not say 1 day, as you just saw in that document. The reason why Todd the Fraud writes 1 day in that summons is because he knows this, based on our argument. I showed him the law, repeatedly showed him the law. I'm talking about from every perspective: Bureau of Prisons documents, DOJ documents, U.S. probation, sentencing commission, you name it. Every possible perspective statute. You cannot be given supervised release without having been first released. I hate to break it down like that, but it's that common sense that just evaded him. Now, he knew it. He knew it. He knew it. He conceded with, hey, that's something you got to take up with your attorney, or should have taken up at the time. Now, what does he do directly after that? They concoct on that summons that they know is going to go before a judge who's going to say, hey, wait a second, you want me to violate a guy's term of supervised release? Well, with no sentence imposed, no term of incarceration, no actually going into custody, into the Bureau of Prisons, therefore released, it's not statutorily permitted for him to be on supervised release. On its face right there, defective. It's just not legal. Now, whether it should have been corrected there or he has an onus upon him at that moment to do the right thing, Todd knew that. So what does Todd do? Thinking no one's going to catch the bullshit, he creates a count of perjury against himself, and Adam Delf confirms it by correctly writing in his otherwise fictional thing that I was given a term, a supervised release, having been given a sentence of time served. So, Adam Delf, thank you. Genuinely thank you for that one. Todd Cantamesa might want to have a word with you because you just made it impossible for him not to be charged with perjury. Impossible. Again, where else did he get the 1-day imprisonment thing? I had the recorded conversation when we argue it. After the conversation, he adds 1-day imprisonment. Hey, the AO's investigators, they're not dumb people. The Office of Professional Responsibility, they're certainly not dumb people. You guys are going to have an accounting for that. The rest of you out on YouTube, I appreciate all your support. Truly, I do. Please, it's the Office of Professional Responsibility. You'll see the information on the screen here. Call them. Give your input. Tell them that you want your courts back. These are our courts. These people work and are employed with our courts. These are not the courts. They're certainly not their courts. They're the stewards of the courts, if you will. That is how the Constitution reads. They are there by means of our elected officials that we elect, ultimately making it our courts for the people. We want our courts back. Anybody who's concerned about this, voice your opinion. We got fraudsters, liars, crooks, who I've just put out there at my own detriment as a whistleblower. You got to understand something, people. I'm talking wide open, straight at you, directly the truth about who? Very powerful people that have shown a propensity and a willingness to not hesitate to persecute me for the color of my skin, let alone pointing out these gross violations of my rights, proving them, irrefutably proving them. So when I say it's taxing and it's stressful, I can't even begin to tell you. So please, all the help I can get, any assistance I can get, I'll take it. Call the Chief Judge Hernandez. Call up in Portland, Oregon, Marco Hernandez. You can find his staff's numbers on the Oregon District Oregon website. Call the Office of Professional Responsibility. I need some type of voice out here. This is getting out of control. I'm going to cut it off. I'm going to make another video to follow up on the rest of this nonsense he writes. But just bear with me here, people. It's a lot of material. These people are screwing me over so often. Right now, they're on a campaign trying to rewrite history. I mean, it's comical. I wish I could show it to you. If you look at Pacer and you have the original documents that I have, and then you look at all these crazy revisions and amendments, you know, it's just unconscionable. They're just going back, watching this channel, and trying to just rewrite history, basically. It's just providing more evidence against themselves. Any astute investigators, like I said, the people at the AO's office, they're not unintelligent people. They're going to see right through it. The timing's there. It's more than circumstantial evidence. It's just absolute irrefutable proof that they're in the midst of a cover-up. For what? What it always is. Liability, pensions, money, reputation. I mean, all that stuff's at stake for these people. They're caught. I've got the smoking guns, again, figuratively, not violently. Evidence against them, hand caught in the cookie jar is probably a better way to say it without provoking any type of backlash or God knows these lunatics over there would jump at the opportunity to say I said something violent. I am not violent, nor have I ever had a violent conviction, and I'm saying now on the record, anybody do anything violent in my name, you're a fool, because I don't condone it. What I'd like to see is that building surrounded with lawful protests, you know, any group, certainly Black Lives Matter, anybody come out there, surround that place. I'm telling you, these are racist, corrupt people. I proved it. I proved it. I mean, I proved it. I've not gone in here slandered anybody. I proved it. Case closed.